नमो ओं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I hope all you are doing well. Today we will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 1, canto 1, chapter 1, text 1. Very important, very important, you know, scriptures, very important canto, very important chapter, and very important text. Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 1, chapter 1, and text 1. Yesterday we read Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter canto 1, only introduction, where from beginning to end the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was described. Now today we'll be reading the canto 1, chapter 1, text 1. Okay. So before we start, let's pray first, then we will start. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृतं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततं जयमुदीरयेत्। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So let's begin. Please listen very carefully. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1 and Text 1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadasya Janmadasya Yato Janmadasya Yato Yato न्याद् इतरतः चार्थेष्व अभिज्ञा स्वरस्त तेने ब्रह्म हृदय य आदि कवयो मुह्यन्ति यत् सूर्य तेज बरी मृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्ग मृषा धामना शेन सदा निरस्त कुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। यन्मादस्य यतोऽन्वयाद् इतरतो चार्थस्य अविज्ञस्वरास्तेन ब्रह्महृदयो आदिकवयो मुह्यन्ति यत् सूर्य तेजबरी मृदं यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्ग मृषधामना श्वेन सदा नीरस्तो कुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि. So let's see the synonym of this text. Om, O my Lord, Namah, offering my obeisances, Bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead, Vasudevaya, unto Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva. O Lord Sri Krishna, the primeval Lord. Yanmya Adi, the creation, the sustentation and destruction. Asya, of the manifested universe, Yata, from whom, Anvayat, directly, Itarata, indirectly, Cha, and Arthi, Shu, purpose, Avijnaya, full cognizant, Swarat, full independent. Tene imported Brahma, the Vedic knowledge, Hridaya, consciousness of heart, Ya, one who, Adi Kavaya, unto the original created being, Mahyanti, are illusioned, Yat, about whom, Shuraya, the great sage and demigod, Tejaya, fire, Vari, water, Mridam, earth, Yatha, as much as, Vinimaya, action and reaction, Yatra, whereupon, Trisharga, three mode of creation, creative facilities, Amrsha, almost factual, Dhamna, along with all transcendental paraphernalia, Sevana, self-sufficiently, Sada, always, Nirasta, negation by absence, Kuhakam, illusion, Satyam, truth, Param, absolute, Dhimai, I do meditate upon. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O my Lord Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all cause of creation, sustenance and destruction of the manifested universe. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestation, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sage and demigod are placed into illusion, and as one is bewildered by the illusionary representation of water seen in fire or land seen in water, only because of him only because of him do the material universe temporarily manifested by the reaction of three mode of nature appeared factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusionary representation of material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Translation once again, I'm reading. O my Lord Sri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all cause of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universe. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestation, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great saga and demigod are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusionary representation of water seen in fire or land seen in water. Only because of him do the material universe, temporarily manifested by the reaction of three mode of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free for the illusionary representation of material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Purport. Obeisances unto the personality Godhead Vasudeva directly indicate Lord Sri Krishna, who is the divine son of Vasudeva and Devki. This fact will be more explicitly explained in the text of this book. Sri Vyasdeva asserts herein that Sri Krishna is the original personality Godhead, and all other are his direct and indirect plenary portion or portion of his the portion. Srila Jiva Goswami has even more explicitly explained the subject matter in his Krishna Shandarbhya. And Brahma, the original living being, has explained the subject Sri Krishna substantially in that name Brahma Samhita. Treatise named Brahma Samhita. In an Upanishad, in the Samveda, it is also stated that Lord Sri Krishna is the divine son of Devaki. Therefore, in this prayer, the first proposition hold that Lord Sri Krishna is the primeval Lord, and if any transcendental nomenclature is to be understood as belonging to the absolute personality of Godhead, it must be name indicated by the word Krishna, which means all attractive. In Bhagavad Gita, in many places, the Lord assert himself to be the original personality of Godhead, and this is confirmed by Arjuna and also by the great saga like Narada, Vyasa, and many others. In the Padma Puran, it is also stated that out of the innumerable name of the Lord, the name of Krishna is the principal one. Vasudeva indicate the plenary portion of the personality of Godhead, and all the different form of the Lord being identical with Vasudeva are indicated in this text. The name Vasudeva particularly indicate the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Sri Krishna is always meditated upon by the Paramahansas, who are perfect, who are the perfected one among those in the renounced order of life. Vasudeva or Lord Sri Krishna is a cause of all cause. Everything that exists emanate from the Lord. How this is so is explained in the latter chapter of this work. This work is described by Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya as the spotless Purana because it contained the transcendental narration of the personality God is Sri Krishna. The history of the Srimad Bhagavatam is also very glorious. It was compiled by Sri Vyasadeva after he had attained maturity in the transcendental knowledge. He wrote this book in the instruction of Sri Naradji, his spiritual master. Vyasadeva compiled all the Vedic literature containing the four division of Veda, the Vedanta Sutra or the Brahma Sutra, the Purana, Mahabharata, and so on. But nevertheless, he was not satisfied. His dissatisfaction was observed by his spiritual master, and thus Narada advised him to write the transcendental activity of Lord Sri Krishna. These transcendental activity are described specially in the 10th canto of this book. But in order to reach to the very substance, one must proceed gradually by developing knowledge of the category. It is natural that the philosophical mind want to know about the origin of creation. It is natural that the philosophical mind wants to know about the creation, about the origin of the creation. At night he sees the star in the sky and he naturally speculate about their inhabitant. Such inquiry are natural for man because man has developed consciousness which is higher than other animals. The author of Srimad Bhagavatam gives a direct answer to such inquiry. He says that the Lord Krishna is the origin of all creation. He is not only the creator of the universe but also destroyer as well. The manifested cosmic nature is created at a certain period by the will of the Lord. It is maintained for some time and then it is annihilated by his will. Therefore, the supreme will is behind all the cosmic activity. Of course, there are atheists of various category who do not believe in the creator, but that is due to poor fund of knowledge. The modern scientist, for example, has created space satellite and by some arrangement or other their satellite are thrown into outer space to fly for some time at the control of the scientist who is far away. Similarly, all the universe with innumerable star and planet are controlled by the intelligence of the personality of Godhead. The Vedic literature, it is said that absolute truth, personality of Godhead, it is a chief amongst all living personality. All living being, beginning from the first created being Brahma down to the small ant, are individual living being. And above Brahma, there are even other living being with individual capacity, and the personality god is also similar living being, and he is the individual as far as other living being, but the supreme lord or the supreme living being has a greatest intelligence, and he possesses the supermost inconceivable energy of all different variety. If a man's brain can produce a space satellite, one can very easily imagine how brain higher than man can produce similarly wonderful things which are far superior. The responsible, the reasonable person would easily accept this argument, but there is a Serpon atheist who would never agree. The Srila Vyasadeva, however, at once accept the supreme intelligence as a Parameshwara. He offers his respectful obeisances unto the supreme intelligence addressed at the Para or Parameshwara or the Supreme Personality Godhead, and that the Parameswara is Sri Krishna is admitted in Bhagavad Gita and other scripture delivered by Sri Vyasdeva, and especially in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that there is no other Param Tattva Samanvanam than himself. Therefore, the Vyasdeva at once worshipped the Param Tattva, Sri Krishna, whose transcendental activity are described in the 10th canto. Unscrupulous person go immediately in 10th canto and especially to the fifth 5 chapter which describe the Lord Rasa dance. This portion of Srimad Bhagavatam is also most confidential part of the great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to be misunderstand the Lord worshipable transcendental pastimes called rasa dance and his love affair with the gopis. This subject matter is highly spiritual, and only the liberated person who has gradually attended to the stage of Paramahansa can transcendentally release this rasa dance. Srila Vyasdeva therefore gives a reader the chance to gradually develop spiritual realization, therefore actually relishing the essence of the pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, he purposely invokes a Gayatri mantra, Dhimai. This Gayatri mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. When one is successful in chanting the Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahmanical quality or be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully and then attain to the stage transcendentally relishing the Lord, His name, His fame, His quality, and so on. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Swarupa of the Lord manifested by his internal potency, and his potency is distinguished from the external potency which has manifested the cosmic world, which is within our experience which is within our experience. Srila Vyasdeva makes a clear distinction between the two in this sloka. Srila Vyasdeva says herein that the manifested internal potency is real, wherein the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusionary, like a mirage in the desert. In the desert mirage, there is no actual water. There is only appearance of water. Real water is somewhere else. The manifested cosmic creation appear as the reality, but reality of which this is but a shadow, is a spiritual world. Semi absolute truth is in the spiritual sky, not the material sky. In the material sky, everything is a relative truth. That is to say, one truth depending on something else. One truth depending on something else. The cosmic creation result from the interaction of three mode of nature, and the temporary manifestation are so created as a present as illusion of reality to the bewildered mind and the conditioned soul who appear in so many species, of life, including the higher demigod like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and so on. In actually, there is no reality in the manifested world. They there appear to be reality, however, because of the true reality which exists in the spiritual world, where the personality God eternally exists with the transcendental paraphernalia. The chief engineer of the complicated transaction does not personally take part in the construction, but he knows every nook and corner because everything is done under his direction. He knows everything about the construction, both directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of the cosmic creation, knows every nook and corner, although a fear of being carried out by the demigod, beginning from the Brahma down to insignificant ant. No one is independent in the material creation. The hand of the Lord is seen everywhere. All the material element as well as the spiritual spark emanate from him only. And whatever is created in the material world is but interaction of two energy, the material and the spiritual, which emanate from the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna, the chemist can manufacture water in the chemical laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen, but in reality, the living entity work in the laboratory under the direction of the Supreme Lord, and the material with which he works are also supplied by the Lord. The Lord knows everything directly and indirectly. He is cognizant of all minute detail. He is fully independent is compared to the mine of gold, and the cosmic creation is many different form are compared to the object made from the gold, such as the gold ring necklace and so on. The gold ring and the gold necklace are qualitatively one with the gold in the mine, but quantitatively the gold in the mine is different. Therefore, the absolute truth is simultaneously one and different. Nothing is absolutely equal with the absolute truth, but at the same time, nothing is independent of the absolute truth. Conditioned soul, beginning from Brahma, who engineered the entire universe down to the insignificant end, are all creating, but none of them is independent of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic wrongly think that there are no creator other than his own self. This is called Maya or illusion. Because of poor fund of knowledge, the materialistic cannot see beyond the purview of the imperfect senses, and thus he thinks the matter automatically takes its own shape without the aid of supreme intelligence. This is refuted in the sloka by Srila Vyasadeva. Since the complete whole or absolute truth is the source of everything, nothing can be independent of the body of the absolute truth. Whatever happened to the body quickly become known to the embodied. Similarly, the creation is the body of the whole absolute truth, whole absolute whole. Therefore, the absolute knows everything directly and indirectly that happen in the creation. In the Shruti mantra, it is also stated that the absolute whole or Brahman is the ultimate source of everything. Everything emanates from him and everything is maintained by him. And at the end, everything enter into him. That is the law of nature. In the Smriti mantra, the same is confirmed. It is said that the source from which everything emanates at the beginning of Brahma millennium and reservoir to which everything ultimately enter is the absolute truth or Brahman. Material scientists take it for granted that the ultimate source of the planetary system is the sun, but they are unable to explain the source of sun. Herein, the ultimate source is explained. According to the Vedic literature, Brahma, who may be the compared to the sun, is not the ultimately creator. It is stated in the sloka that Brahma was taught Vedic knowledge by the personality Godhead. One may argue that Brahma, being the original living being, could not be inspired because there are no other being living at that time. Herein it is stated that the Supreme Lord inspired the secondary creator, Brahma, in order to Brahma could carry out the creative function. So the supreme intelligence behind all creation is the absolute Godhead, Sri Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna stated that it is He only who superintended the creative energy, Prakriti, which constitute the totality of matter. Therefore, Sri Vyasdeva does not worship Brahma, but the Supreme Lord, who guided Brahma in his creative activity. In this sloka, the particular word avigya, avigya and swarat are significant. These two words distinguish the Supreme Lord from all other living entities. No other living entity is either avigya or sarat. That is, no one is either fully cognizant or fully independent. Even Brahma has to meditate upon the Supreme Lord in order to create. Then what to speak the great other scientists like Einstein? The brain of such scientists are certainly not the product of any human being. Certainly not the product of any human being. Scientists cannot manufacture such a kind of brain. And what to speak of foolish atheist who defy the authority of the Lord? Even Mayavad impersonalists who flatter themselves that they can become one with the Lord are neither Avijna nor Swarat. Such impersonalists undergo severe austerity to acquire knowledge to become one with the Lord, but ultimately they become dependent on some rich disciple who supply them with money to build monastery and temple. Atheists like Ravana or Hiranyakashipu had to undergo severe penance before they could float the authority of the Lord, but ultimately they were rendered helpless and could not save themselves when the Lord appeared before them as a cruel death. This is also the case when the modern atheist who also dared to float the authority of the Lord, such atheist will be dealt with similarly. For history repeat itself. Whenever men neglect the authority of the Lord, nature and her laws are there to penalize them. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita in the well verse in the Bhagavad Gita 4.7 in the well verse Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya. Whenever there is a decline of dharma and rise of adharma, O Arjuna, then I incarnate myself. That the Supreme Lord is all perfect is confirmed in all Shruti mantra. It is said in the Shruti mantra that all the perfect Lord threw a glance over the matter and thus created the living being. Thus, living being are the part and parcel of the Lord, and He impregnated the vast material creation with the seed of the spiritual spark, and thus the creative energy are set in the motion to enact the many wonderful creation. An atheist may argue that God is no more except in the watchmaker, no more expert than no more expert than the watchmaker. But of course God is a greater than he can create a machine in duplicate male and a female form. The male and female form of different type of machinery go on producing innumerable similar machine without God further attention. If a man could manufacture such a kind of set of machine that could produce other machine without his attention, then he could approach the intelligence of God. But that is not possible, for each and every machine has to handle individually. Therefore, no one can create as well as God. Another name of God is the Asamardhva, Ashamardhva, Asamardhva, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him. Puran Param Satyam or Supreme Truth. Param Satyam or the Supreme Truth is He who has no equal or superior. This is confirmed in the Shruti Mantra. It is said that before the creation of the material universe, there existed Lord only, who is a master of everyone. The Lord instructed Brahma in the Vedic knowledge that Lord has to be obeyed in all respect. Anyone who wants to get rid of the material entanglement must surrender unto him. That is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Unless one surrender unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that he will be bewildered. When an intelligent man surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna, knows completely that Krishna is the cause of all cause, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, then only such intelligent man become Mahatma, the great soul. But such a great soul rarely seen. Only Mahatma can understand the Supreme Lord is the primeval cause of all creation. He is a Parama or ultimate truth because all their truth are relative to him. He is omniscient. For him, there is no illusion. Some Mayavadi scholars argue the Srimad Bhagavatam was not compiled by Vyasdeva, and some of them suggest that this book is a modern creation written by someone named Bapodeva, Bopadeva. In order to refute such meaningless arguments, Sri Sridhar Swami point out there is a reference of Srimad Bhagavatam in many of oldest Purana. The first sloka of the Bhagavatam begin with the Gayatri mantra, and there is a reference to this in the Matsya Purana. And there is a reference to this in the Matsya Purana, which is the oldest Purana. In the Purana, it is said with the reference of the Gayatri mantra in the Bhagavatam that there is many narration in the spiritual instruction beginning with the Gayatri mantra, and there is a history of Vritasura. Anyone who make a gift of the great in Vritasura, anyone anyone who makes a gift of this great work on a full moon day attain to the highest perfection of life by returning to Godhead. There is a reference to the Bhagavatam in other Purana also, where it is clearly stated that his work was finished in the 12th canto, which include the 18,000 slokas. In the Padma Purana also, there is a reference of the Bhagavatam is conversion between the Gautam and Gautama and Maharaja Ambarisha. The king was advised therein to read regular Srimad Bhagavatam. If he desired to liberate, if he desired liberation from the material bondage, under the circumstances, there is no doubt about the authority of the Bhagavatam, which in the first 500 within the first 500 year, many erudite scholar and acharya like Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Vishwanath Chakrabarti, Vallabhacharya, and many other distinguished scholar, even after the time of Lord Chaitanya, made elaborately commentary of Srimad Bhagavat of the Bhagavatam, commentaries on the Bhagavatam, and the serious student would do well attempt to go through them to better release and transcendental message. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur specially deal with the original and pure sex psychology, Adirasa, divide all mundane inebriety. The whole material creation is moving under the principle of sex life. In modern civilization, sex life is a focal point of all activity. Wherever one turn his face, he sees sex life predominant. Therefore, sex life is not unreal. It its reality is experienced in the spiritual world. The material sex life is but a perverted reflection of original fact. The original fact is in the absolute truth. Thus, the absolute truth cannot be impersonal. It is possible to be impersonal and certain pure sex life. Consequently, the impersonalist philosophers have given indirect impetus to the abnormal mundane sex life because they have overstressed the impersonality of ultimate truth. Consequently, man without information of actual spiritual form of sex has accepted perverted material sex life as the all in all. There is a distinction between sex life in the diseased material condition and spiritual sex life. This Srimad Bhagavatam will gradually elevate the unbiased reader to the highest perfectional stage of transcendence. It is enable him to transcend the three mode of material activity, fruitive action, speculative philosophy, and worship of the functional deity as included in Vedic verse. Okay. Here we concluded the reading reading of Bhaktivedanta purport for the day. I hope all you have understood. Now let's jump into the insight. we have made a separate video presentation and audio podcast, and we are attaching both of it with the original video. So stay tuned, please listen till the end, you will get the better understanding. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hey everyone, welcome. You ever just stop and think, where does all of this come from? I mean, everything. It's got to be one of the biggest questions out there, right? Well, today we're going to dig into an answer that's been around for thousands of years. Yeah, I'm talking about the ultimate source of all existence. Seriously, where did the universe begin? What's the engine that keeps it all running? And where's it all headed? This isn't a new question, of course. People have been wrestling with this one for, well, forever. So what if I told you that an ancient Sanskrit text, the Srimad Bhagavatam, makes this incredible claim that it has the answer? And get this, it's not hidden away in some obscure chapter. It's right there, in the very first verse. Boom. It basically sets the entire stage for the 18,000 verses that come after it. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to break down that single, power-packed verse. We'll start with this idea of the absolute truth. Then we'll see who it identifies as the primeval cause. After that, we'll get into its really cool ideas about reality versus illusion, check out the two main qualities of this ultimate source, and wrap up with how the text itself says you should even begin to understand all this. All right, let's jump right in. What is the core idea, the central thesis of this whole thing? The verse kicks off with something really direct, almost like a personal declaration. The author says, straight up, I'm meditating on Lord Sri Krishna, and then gives the reason, because he is the absolute truth. And this isn't just a title. The text frames this as the ultimate origin point, the first cause that sets off every other cause in the entire universe. So you're probably asking, what exactly is this absolute truth? The Sanskrit term is param satyam, and according to the text, it's pretty straightforward. It's the one single source of, well, everything. It's where everything comes from, what keeps it all going, and where it all goes back to in the end. It's like the fundamental reality holding up everything else. Okay, so we've got this concept of an absolute truth, but is it just some abstract force, like gravity or energy? Nope. The text says it's not a what, it's a who, and it gets very, very specific. Yeah, there's no vagueness here at all. The verse identifies this source as Lord Sri Krishna, who's also called Vasudeva. And a cool little detail, the name Krishna itself is said to mean the all-attractive. And the author, Vyasadeva, makes a pretty bold claim that this person, Krishna, is the original source, and that all other forms of the divine are basically expansions from him. Okay, now this is where things get really fascinating. Let's look at how the text explains the connection between this absolute truth and, the world we actually live in and see every day. So to lay this out, the text paints a really clear picture. Think of it like this. On one side, you have our material world. The text calls this a temporary manifestation, an illusion. It uses the analogy of a mirage in a desert. It looks totally real, right? But it's not actual water. Why? Because it's just a reflection, a shadow of the real thing. And that real thing, the substance, is on the other side, the spiritual world. That's the eternal reality, the home of the absolute truth. So you might be wondering, how can this source know everything if he's not directly in the material world? The text has a brilliant analogy for this. Imagine a chief engineer designing a huge, complicated building. She doesn't have to personally mix the cement or lay every brick, right? But she knows every single nook and cranny of that project because it was all built according to her plan. The text says it's the same idea. The Lord is the supreme engineer of the cosmos, completely aware of everything because it all operates under his direction. So what exactly is it that makes this absolute truth, well, absolute? The verse highlights two really crucial attributes that set this source apart from literally everything and everyone else. First up, there's a quality called abhinyah. This means fully cognizant. And we're not just talking smart or knows a lot. This is total, complete awareness of every single part of creation, directly and indirectly. Every minute detail. There's literally nothing outside of this consciousness. The second one is svarat, which means fully independent. And this is a massive idea. Think about it. For everything that exists, you can always ask, well, what caused that? Svarat means this is where that chain of questions stops. This is the uncaused cause. The text gives a great example. Even the great engineer of the universe, Brahma, isn't fully independent. He has to meditate on this higher source to get the power to create. But the absolute truth, he depends on no one and nothing else. Period. Okay, so we're talking about some really deep, profound stuff here, which leads to a really important question. How does the text itself say you should approach it? I mean, you probably can't just dive into the deep end, right? And you'd be right. The text basically comes with its own instruction manual, or maybe a warning label. The author, Srila Vyasadeva, is very clear. Don't just skip to the end. Don't just jump to the most confidential parts, like the 10th canto, which details Krishna's personal pastimes. He says if you do that without building the right philosophical foundation first, you're just setting yourself up to misunderstand the whole thing. Instead, there's a process, a gradual path. First, it says you need to develop what are called Brahmanical qualities, basically a mindset situated in goodness. From that foundation, you can then properly and successfully use powerful mantras, like the Gayatri. The idea is that this practice elevates you, brings you to what's called a transcendental position. And it's only from that vantage point that you can really, truly grasp and appreciate the real essence of the Lord's pastimes. So if we circle all the way back, the core takeaway from this single verse is that powerful metaphor. The world we experience, the one that feels so solid and real, this text says it's just a shadow, a temporary, flickering shadow. The real substance, the actual reality that's casting that shadow, is in the spiritual world. And that really leaves us with one heck of a question to think about, doesn't it? If our entire reality is just a shadow, then what is the substance that's casting it? Well, according to this ancient verse, the answer is the absolute truth, Param Satyam. And it's not some vague energy field, but an all-attractive, all-knowing, and fully independent person. Pretty mind-blowing stuff. Thanks for diving in with me.
Now we completed the video presentation. Let's begin with audio podcast.
Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever just looked up at the night sky, that immense darkness and all those stars, and felt that pull, asking those really big questions?
Oh, absolutely. Where did it all come from? What's really real is this? Is this it?
Exactly, that deep, almost primal urge to understand our origins, the universe's source. It feels like it's just part of being human, doesn't it?
It really does. It's a quest as old as thought itself, this need to grasp the fundamentals.
Well, today we're going beyond just wondering. We're diving deep, really deep into an ancient text that offers some incredibly direct and powerful answers.
We're talking about the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Specifically that very first verse.
That's a one. Supi 1.1.1, often called the spotless Kura. It's presented as a guide, really, in search of the absolute truth.
And for this dive, we've got the original Sanskrit, the translation, and a pretty extensive commentary to help us unpack it.
Right. So our mission really is to pull out the key insights. What does this verse tell us about the absolute truth? And how does that change how we see, well, everything?
Yeah, we'll touch on creation, illusion, the path to knowledge. It's all in there.
Okay, let's jump in. It starts with that invocation. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. What's the significance of that opening, that name Vasudeva?
It's crucial. It's a direct homage to Lord Sriknar. The text specifies Vasudeva as Kuk, the divine son of Vasudeva and Devak.
Yes. Okay.
And the name Kucha itself means all attractive. It's considered his principal name, capturing his complete essence.
So right away, it's focused on Kut. Then the next part, Janmadhyasiyata, seems to get straight to the point about his role.
It absolutely does. It establishes him as the ultimate source, the origin of creation, sustenance, and destruction for all universes.
Not just a creator, but the source.
Exactly, the primeval cause. Everything ultimately traces back to him. His will is behind all cosmic activity.
It's such a direct response to that innate curiosity we have. We build amazing things like satellites,
Right.
but figuring out where the sun came from or who's ultimately in control, that's trickier.
Precisely. And the text uses that kind of logic. If a human brain can make a satellite, which is pretty complex,
Sure is.
then it's not a huge leap to imagine a far superior intelligence creating and managing something infinitely more complex, like stars and planets. It points towards a supreme intelligence.
Following that logic, the verse uses two really key terms, Avijin Svad.
Yeah.
What do these tell us about this supreme intelligence?
Ah, yes. Abhijnana means fully cognizant. He knows everything, directly and indirectly, complete awareness.
Okay.
And Svada means fully independent. There's no cause beyond him. He's the ultimate authority.
So like the supreme engineer of everything, aware of every little detail.
That's a good analogy. Even if others, like demigods, carry out tasks, he knows it all because it's all under his direction. Nothing, from the highest being down to the smallest creature, is truly independent of him.
That really pushes back against the idea that matter just organizes itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How does the text explain why someone might think that way?
Right. It attributes that view to Maya illusion. It suggests it comes from having a poor fund of knowledge and relying on imperfect senses.
Right, yeah.
The idea is that creation is like the body of the absolute. And just like you know what's happening in your own body.
Yeah, inherently.
The absolute knows everything happening within creation. It's intrinsic awareness, not just observation from outside.
And this connects to how knowledge itself is transmitted, right?
Yeah.
The verse says, Kunta imparted Vedic knowledge to Brahmaji first.
Exactly. Even Brahma, the one often called the creator within the universe, received his knowledge from a higher source. That really underscores the hierarchy.
So even the highest beings within the creation aren't the ultimate source of knowledge.
Precisely. And this brings us back to Maya illusion. The text points out that even very wise sages, even demigods, can be bewildered.
Bewildered how?
It uses these really vivid analogies like seeing water in a fire or seeing land on water, things that look real but aren't. It shows how easily perception can be fooled.
So these material universes, they seem real, but the text says they're temporarily manifested, like a mirage.
That's the core idea. They appear factual because of the interplay of nature's modes, but they aren't the ultimate unchanging reality. They're described as relative truth.
Relative truth, meaning?
Meaning they are dependent, temporary, always changing, like signposts pointing beyond themselves. The real reality, the absolute truth, is eternal, independent, found in the spiritual world, which this material world is just a temporary reflection of.
Like a shadow.
Exactly, a shadow that seems real to the bewildered mind, but the actual substance is elsewhere. The real water isn't in the desert mirage.
Okay, stepping back a bit, the text seems very clear on the authority of name Kant itself.
Absolutely fundamental. He's presented as the original personality of Godhead. All other divine forms are considered his expansions, direct or indirect.
And there's backing for this.
Oh, yes. The commentary points to the Bhagavad Gita, confirmations from Arjuna, from great sages like Narada and Vyasa. Even the Padma-Puna states is the principal name among all the Lord's names.
Got it. And the Ramapagavatam itself, Mahaprabhu Chaitanya called it the spotless Buddha. Why is it held in such high regard? What's its story?
Its significance comes from its focus.
Yeah.
It's all about the transcendental activities and nature of Lord Sri Chakant.
Okay.
And the story behind it is fascinating. Shrita Vyasadeva, the compiler of basically all the major Vedic texts, Vedas, Puranas, Mahabharata,
Right, big ones.
even after all that, he felt unsatisfied, deeply unfulfilled.
Wow, after compiling all that.
Yeah. And it was his spiritual guide, Naradeji, who pinpointed the issue. He told Vyasadeva he hadn't sufficiently focused on the personal, transcendental activities of Lord Gitten.
Ah.
So Vyasadeva then compiled the Bhagavatam specifically to do that. That's why it's considered his mature work, the cream of the Vedas.
With such an important ancient text, people might naturally question its authenticity. Is it really that old? Did Vyasadeva really write it?
That's a fair question, and the tradition addresses it head-on. Its authenticity isn't really in doubt within the lineage.
How so?
Well, for one, it's referenced in older texts, like the Matsapurya, which mentions its scope and even specific stories found within it.
Okay, so there's external reference.
Yes, and its structure, 12 cantos, 18,000 verses, is consistent and well documented. Plus, you have centuries of commentaries by highly respected scholars and spiritual masters like Jiva Goswami, Vishwanatha Chakravarti. They all affirm its authority. It's deeply embedded in the tradition.
So given its depth, there must be a recommended way to approach it. The text seems to warn against just sort of jumping into the deep end.
That's a very important point. It strongly emphasizes a gradual approach. It specifically cautions against unscrupulous persons who might skip straight to the most confidential parts, like the descriptions of Kansa's intimate pastimes, the rasa dance and the 10th canto.
Why the caution?
Because the text explains you really need to be thoroughly accomplished in transcendental knowledge, basically a perfected soul, a paramahasa, to truly understand and appreciate those sections properly. Otherwise, you risk misunderstanding them from a material perspective.
So it's not meant for casual browsing. What is the path then?
The verse itself hints at it with the word Dhammahi, which invokes the Gayatri mantra. This mantra, and thus the Bhagavatam study, is traditionally meant for those who are spiritually developed, cultivating what are called Brahminical qualities.
Which are?
Things like being situated in goodness, cultivating truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, wisdom. It requires a certain purity of mind and intent.
Okay.
And the promise is that if you approach it sincerely with an unbiased mind, the Bhagavatam itself will gradually elevate you. It takes you beyond just, working for results or speculating endlessly or even worshiping lesser deities, towards the highest stage of transcendence, a complete understanding of the absolute truth.
This brings up a really deep philosophical point you mentioned earlier. The idea that the absolute truth is simultaneously one with and different from creation. How does that work?
Right. It's a cornerstone concept, often called Asintya Bhaidavita Tattva, simultaneously one and different. It sounds paradoxical, maybe.
A little, yeah.
The commentary uses a great analogy. Think of a gold mine and objects made of gold, like rings or necklaces.
Okay.
Qualitatively, they're the same, they're both gold, but quantitatively, the mine is vastly different from a single ring.
Ah, I see. So Koke is the source, the mine.
Exactly. And the creations are like the objects. They share his quality, his essence, in a sense, but they aren't him in totality. Nothing is equal to the absolute, but nothing is entirely separate or independent from it either.
That makes sense. It connects back to that idea of his potencies too, right? Internal versus external.
Precisely. His internal potency manifests his own divine form and nature, his Svarupa. That's considered the eternal reality.
It is eternal.
The external potency manifests this material world temporary, subject to illusion, like we discussed. It's the shadow, whereas the reality, the substance, is in the spiritual realm, manifested by the internal potency.
Now, there's another concept mentioned in the commentary that might surprise some people, this idea of pure sex psychology, or adhirasa. What is that referring to?
Yes, Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Akua discusses this. It's quite profound. He explains that what we experience as sex life in the material world is actually a perverted reflection of an original, pure spiritual reality.
A reflection.
Yes. The idea is that the spiritual world isn't devoid of relationships or attractions. It's where they exist in their purest, most perfect form. The attraction between Kitna and his devotees, particularly the gopis, represents the pinnacle of this adhirasa, the original loving exchange.
So the argument is that the absolute can't be impersonal if it contains the origin of such a fundamental drive.
Exactly. If the source of everything didn't contain the spiritual essence of loving exchange, where would even its reflection come from? The commentary suggests that overemphasizing impersonality can inadvertently lead people to misunderstand or even misuse the material reflection because they deny its pure spiritual counterpart.
It's a really different way of looking at it, connecting our deepest drives to a spiritual source.
It is. It suggests that even material desire isn't inherently bad, but rather a misplaced or distorted echo of something truly divine.
So after unpacking all of this from just one verse, what's the main takeaway? What's the ultimate lesson here?
The commentary circles back to the necessity of surrender. It emphasizes that unless you surrender to Khan, understanding him as the ultimate cause of everything, like the Gita, also confirms you'll likely remain caught in that illusion, Maya.
And understanding this makes one.
A Mahatma, a great soul. But the text adds, significantly, that such great souls are rarely seen. It implies it takes real spiritual insight and humility to cut through the illusion and accept Kanta's supreme position.
Which leads to the final description of Kant as asamordva, all perfect.
That's the capstone. Asamordva means no one is equal to him and no one is greater than him. He is absolutely supreme.
And there was that interesting analogy about machines.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
The commentary makes this fascinating comparison. Human engineers create machines, but they have to manage each one. God, it says, creates machines in duplicate male and female forms.
Meaning living beings.
Yes. And these forms then reproduce innumerable similar machines, more living beings, without God needing to intervene individually in each case.
Wow.
It's presented as evidence of an intelligence and creative power far beyond anything humanly conceivable, confirming his unique asamordva status.
What an incredible amount packed into one verse. We've gone from the initial invocation to Kun as a primeval cause, Fully aware, fully independent.
Explored the nature of illusion, Maya, versus the spiritual reality.
Looked at the authority and gradual path presented by the Srimad Bhagavatam itself.
And touched on deep philosophy like being one yet different, and even the spiritual origin of loving exchange.
It really feels like a complete worldview, encapsulated right there at the beginning.
It truly lays the foundation for everything that follows in the text, offering this direct answer to those fundamental questions we started with.
So for you, our listener, here's something to think about. If this whole cosmic setup, everything that seems so solid and urgent around us, is described as temporary, like an almost factual illusion, what does that suggest about the real reality we're connected to?
And maybe how might understanding that distinction between the temporary reflection and the eternal substance potentially reshape what you prioritize, what you pursue in your own life?
Definitely something to ponder on your own deep dive.